Hello everyone, welcome to Story Time. We are currently reading Nan and Sidekick Grandad by Annaliese Matheron. And Annaliese is a local author and she's very kindly said that we can read her story for our story time here at Lowestoft Library. So thank you very much, Annaliese. And we are now up to chapter 3. So get yourselves comfortable and hopefully we can find out what's going on with Mrs. Gillespie. She's a very strange lady, isn't she? So chapter 3, Kieran the Plonker. It was almost lunchtime. Ben was laying belly down on Grandad's stripy front lawn, hidden from view with the aid of an upturned wheelbarrow and a substantial border of flowers. He'd been lying in wait for Mrs. Gillespie for over half an hour and was starting to get bored. Ben reached inside his backpack and pulled out his pad. He started reading his earlier surveillance notes. 10 o'clock. Mrs. Gillespie and dog, on scooter, go to number 14. Home of Colonel Brown. Note, the old bat has some kind of parcel wrapped in a red checked cloth. 10:12. Mrs. Gillespie exits number 14 with dog, but without parcel. Travels up Honeypot Grove. Will follow on foot. 10:16. Suspect seen talking to her watch again at the corner of Honeypot Grove and Sycamore Lane. 10:21. Old bat lingering down Sycamore Lane outside number 2, adjusting glasses and talking to her watch. 10:23. Pixie, the piranha dog, tries to attack a jogger at the end of Sycamore Lane. Mrs. Gillespie gives him another drumstick. 10:34. Have lost the old croon. Last seen heading east of Sycamore Lane down Petunia Rise. 11:02. Spotted Mrs. Gillespie leaving Mrs. Chang's house, number 5, Honeypot Grove. 11:05. Suspect back indoors. Ben just couldn't work out how Mrs. Gillespie had managed to give him the slip. But one thing was sure, she was quick on that motorised scooter of hers. Ben put his notebook back and pulled out his binoculars. From under the wheelbarrow, he focused along the grove. Mr. and Mrs. Chang were tending their front garden, and Mr. Gregson was washing his old red sports car. Nothing interesting here. Ben continued to scan the grove. A white delivery van pulled in. Ben kept the van in his sights as it travelled straight past him and stopped outside Mrs. Gillespie's. The driver got out of the van and slid open the side door. Ben's senses tingled. Something wasn't right. The white van man stood out like a sore thumb. His hair was short and slicked back. He wore aviator-style sunglasses, and although his uniform looked worn, his black shoes were so polished they could have been used as mirrors. Ben watched as he pulled a parcel from the truck. The man turned and jumped, almost dropping the box. Mrs. Gillespie had come out of the house and sneaked up on him in her motorised scooter. The man apologised reverently to the old goat and he pulled out an electronic pad for her to sign. Just at that moment, Ben was startled by a loud ringing in his ears. Someone had struck the wheelbarrow. He clambered forth from beneath it and shook his head as he stood up, his legs feeling like jelly. It was Kieran. Ben whipped round and looked at Mrs. Gillespie and the delivery man. Mrs. Gillespie scowled at the delivery man as he stowed something in the side of his belt. The electronic pad, perhaps. Ben tried to tell himself it was so, but he was sure he had seen the barrel of a gun. Ben glanced at Mr. and Mrs. Chang. They were now in the middle of the street with spade and rake in hand, staring at Ben. Mr. Gregson was nowhere to be seen. Kieran was pointing at Ben and laughing unfeelingly. Ben spun round and glared at Kieran. "Nice one, Kieran. You've totally blown my cover," he said in an angry whisper. "What?" Kieran scoffed. "Been playing detectives, little Benji Wenji." Sometimes Kieran could be such a jerk. Ben reached down to get his backpack, but Kieran was quicker. "Give it back," he shouted, chasing Kieran into the back garden. "That's valuable evidence in there. Give it back." "Evidence of what? That you're a girl, Pants? Everyone already knows that." "Kieran, I mean it, I'll tell Nan. Nan! Ben shouted. Ha! What's she going to do? Kieran replied, holding the backpack above Ben's head. As if in answer, a slipper flew through the air, hitting Kieran's knuckles. He let the bag drop as a second slipper hurtled towards the side of his head and collided with his ear. Ben and Kieran stood open-mouthed, eyes fixed on their grandmother, who was standing, hands on hips and slipperless at the back door. People round here are used to their peace and quiet. They don't like noisy little boys, Nan said. You could have just said that, Kieran retorted, massaging his red ear. You wouldn't have heard me over the commotion you two were making, Nan replied shortly. How come you didn't wallop him with your slipper? Kieran shot Ben a menacing look. Because he wasn't the one who started it. Now you're going to apologise, or do I have to borrow Grandad's slippers? Kieran hung his head. Sorry, he muttered remorsefully. You need to apologise to Ben too, Nan insisted. Kieran glared at Ben. Sorry, he spat the words from his mouth, like venom before storming into the house. Nan had taken Kieran down like a professional hitman. Ben was impressed. Where did you learn to do that? Ben asked, picking up his backpack. Do what, lovely? Nan asked. You know, said Ben, pretending to have a slipper in his hand and throwing it with kung fu-style sound effects. Nan smiled. Just a lucky shot, that's all. I don't think it is just a lucky shot, not from the picture on this cover. And her name, Ninja Nan, I think she's had a little bit of training there. But what's going on at Mrs. Gillespie's house? What's she been ordering? Don't know, we'll have to find out tomorrow. So pop back then at 2 o'clock and we will read the next chapter in Ninja Nan and Sidekick Grandad by Annaliese Matheron. So I will see you then. Bye-bye.